Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast, where business owners and emerging leaders go deeper, not just higher. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and my mission is to empower business owners to design a life they don't grow to regret without sacrificing health, relationships, or spirituality. We do this through our Level Up and Live mastermind built on 5 pillars: accountability, clarity, support, guidance, and community. Today's guest is someone who is living the transformation story himself and is now helping rebuild not just properties, but people, purpose, and legacy. Joshua Woolever is the founder and visionary behind Sacred Innovations, a faith-driven construction and development company focused on transforming communities, restoring help, and redefining what it means to build. In this conversation, we'll dive into where he started, how he is navigating the tough seasons, and how he leads with heart in an industry that's all about hard work. Joshua, thanks for being here and welcome to the show, brother.
Good morning.
Now let's start at the beginning. Take our listeners, our viewers, tell us about what led you into construction and what's the mission of restoration of properties and people. What does it mean to you?
Absolutely. So my background when I was real young, I was still a teenager. I was involved in a Missions to America parachurch organization. So it was youth impacting youth. And as a youth minister, we would travel around, do motivational speaking, theater, dance, music, put on presentations in churches and public high schools, at community events. And it was just all about steering the next generation in a positive way. We dealt a lot with, emotional quotient, EQ, your ability to succeed in life, filtering out the lies that we believe about ourselves. The Lord worked on my heart and gave me a real passion for just helping your neighbor, helping your brother, one another. And through my journey, I've done a lot of different things between, web and graphic design, internet marketing, computer repair, certified personal trainer. But in every aspect of business that I was ever involved in, the heart and the vision was the same. It was all about helping people become more autonomous and, very similar to your vision, build a life that you love, that you enjoy waking up to. And about 3 or 4 years ago, I relocated. I moved out to be closer to and support family out to the Houston area. I just kind of wanted to do something new. So I looked around, prayed about it, tried my hand at a few different things, but I didn't want to live a life that I grew to regret either. That journey brought me to the construction world. So until a few years ago, I had never seen myself as a blue collar kind of guy. And, I didn't have 20, 30 years experience in the industry. I was just kind of fresh and new, but I brought a different perspective and I saw a real need. There's a need in the housing community, that missing middle. Interest rates and prices and tariffs, and, all the excuses. But the bottom line is it's hard to find people you can trust and it's hard to find quality work. Whether it's a handyman service or it's new construction or it's a renovation for investment or for personal use, it's hard out there. There's a real need there. I got my start in a cabinetry shop doing custom woodworking, carpentry, and then whatever comes along with that, painting, sheetrock, little things here and there. But in March of 2025, this year, we got our core crew together and rebranded and launched a full-scale single residential campaign, just specifically targeting that, just cultivating a space. And our motto is, we want to make your space sacred. We want you to be comfortable in your own home. We want our presence there to impact it positively. And we want to leave you with a higher quality of life than before we got there.
Man, I love that, your story. 2 things that I took away from that. One of them is you've tried a bunch of different things in life. You've tried a bunch of different industries and you've learned what worked, what hasn't worked, and you've been out of alignment, you've been in alignment. And now fast forward, here you are, all in God's timing. He has put you in this industry where you can take all your skill sets, all your experiences, all your resources, your network, and bring it all together to create that sacred place in homes. And now you're formulating that. And one of the things I love about that story, Joshua, is I think so many times this day and age, and what I have found, especially with young entrepreneurs and business owners, is that we think we have to stay in that same industry that we started in a year ago or 5 years ago or even 10 years ago. because we've built something, or we've been in a role that we're so comfortable with. And we're afraid of getting out of that, getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable, and afraid of doing something new. And that is not designing a life that you want to live and that you grow to love, and exactly what we're talking about. And I love how you've had that courage and that boldness to be able to step out and go do these things versus allowing fear to hold you back. And man, I just commend you for that. I think that's very rare, especially these days. And I would just empower our listeners and audience to be able to listen to that and observe that and really receive that, because when you feel like you wake up every day, I'm not saying you're not running into challenges, hiccups, trials and tribulations, but when you know you're in alignment with who God has called you to be, to me, it's who you become in that process to get to where you want to go. And if you feel like you're living a fulfilling life by serving and mentoring and impacting other people, that's what it's all about. And I think you've done one thing after another, and here you are today, that's led you to where you are. Now, you talk a lot about foundation of brokenness. That became that launching pad, that catalyst. What did that season of your life teach you in business and in just life?
So one thing that I've noticed in my own life and in the lives around us is that when we get caught up in the brokenness, in the darkness, in the tough times and adversity and obstacles, we get this mindset that life is going to be like this forever, that what I'm going through is going to be it. This is eternity for me. And we get trapped in that helplessness and hopelessness and that devastation. And one thing that I've learned over the course of my life is the only thing constant in this world is change. Whatever it is, good or bad, everything is going to change. Everything is here for a season. Everything is here for a time. And it's that spark of hope of the greatness that's yet to come, the blessings that we are building up for ourselves, or the fruits of our labor, the diligent effort, showing up every day when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's not any possible way that you can see it working out the way it needs to work out. You just show up, you give it your all, you do what you got to do, knowing that life is a journey. It's a path, and respite, it's just around the corner.
Man, mic drop moment. I want everybody to go back and rewind that for the next 30 seconds. Speaking from the heart, Joshua, I've gotten to know you over the last couple of months, but man, hearing your conviction in just the short period of time, I really, in alignment, I resonated with a lot of what you're saying about brokenness, because ultimately I think that's who we find out who we really are, our character, what motivates us, our agenda, our intention. And God, it's all in His timing. And I know I keep bringing that back, but I feel like so many of us are going through life and we are in the rat race or a cog in the wheel, and we're doing the same thing over and expecting different results. And there's two roads to travel. There's the road of most traveled, which is resting on your laurels, living a mediocre life. Or there's the road less traveled, which that's what we're on. That's what people listening to this podcast, especially Level Up and Live, are listening to that podcast. The road less traveled. If you are listening to this podcast, and Joshua, I'm sure you can probably resonate with this. If you feel like there's imposter syndrome, if you feel like there's judgment, criticism going on all around us, if you feel like you're not doing things the right way, if you're fatigued, exhausted, frustrated, stuck, overwhelmed, I've got the answer for you. It's normal. Those are perfectly a normal feelings, emotions, and experiences of going down the road less traveled. Mm-hmm. Right, Joshua?
That's it. That
road
is
less traveled. That means you're doing things right. That means you're doing hard things. You're getting comfortable, getting uncomfortable. It's tough. It's challenging. We want to throw in the towel. We want to step out. We want to start another business, whatever it may be. But guess who you got to take with you in that next business, in that next marriage, in that next season of life?
That's it.
You. So we have to look inwards, and I see you doing that, and I see you leveling up in this journey. And when I think of brokenness, it's like, God, we have to break ourselves down. We have to hit that pain cave and really suffer for, you know what? I don't have all the answers. God, help me through this process. Help me through this chaos.
Yep.
And when you give it all to Him, and when you're vulnerable, you put the ego and pride to the side, and you create that safe place, and you seek help, seek counsel like you have, woo, you got a little bit more pep in your step. You're like, hey, I'm not alone on this. There's actually other people that are down the road that I want to go down. And I was able to find that by being vulnerable. And that's what I think of brokenness. Any thoughts on that, Joshua?
Man, I do resonate strongly with what you're saying, and I agree completely. We get in this mindset that, like you said, the imposter syndrome, that, oh man, what am I even doing out here? I mean, you got all this chaos swirling around you. You got all this responsibility on your shoulders. You got these people looking to you to lead them, to direct them, to guide them. And some days you just sit there and you look around and you say, man, how did I trick all these people? How did I fool them into do they
Yeah.
even know who they're following right now? And and then you kind of have to have a reality check with yourself, and you have to get really brutally honest and look in the mirror and be like, look, man, you've been a lot of places, but you're not that person anymore. You're not there anymore. And you have to really go through, and you got to focus on your gratitude. You got to focus on your self-worth. You got to focus on and reinvigorate that vision that the Lord put in your heart whenever you started, or that budding idea. And you got to remember that He's the one leading you, He's the one guiding you. And that, yeah, maybe you're not, who you're projecting to be, but who the Lord is turning you into is so much greater than you can imagine. And you have the choice to start embodying that today. Start making choices that are going to lead you to become that person and live up to the expectations that these other people are putting their faith in you, putting their trust in you. You're out there, and you're helping them provide for their family. You're giving them stability. You're giving them security. You're giving them all the things that they need for them and their family to prosper. You're not just out there for yourself. You're out there for your whole team. You're out there for your customers, for your clients, for your crew. And you're an important, valuable part of society, as well as an opportunity for the Lord to positively impact and change the lives of everyone you come in contact with.
I agree with you 1000%. And that's what we call, and that's a core value of Level Up Live is leadership by example, and having that faith. Everything that you just mentioned is really having that faith, because if we think we're doing it all on our own, and that's pride and ego drive in the driver's seat. But at the end of the day, it's like when we get knocked down, or we hit an obstacle or a challenge, it's in those moments that I've learned, being a student of the game, especially these last 3 or 4 years, really learning about spirituality, mind, body, soul, and connection, and in spirit, and how I show up in those moments when the challenges happen. Because in the past, it would just pressure me, man. Like I would get so frustrated, I get so angry, and I really reflected on those emotions. I was like, why am I feeling this way? And I would always challenge myself. I'd always set my goals and do big things, just like you are, and in business, and take massive action, plug myself in, do these different things that we, mentors and coaches have always told me. But then I really never looked inward. And I was always wondering why I was always experiencing these same feelings over and over, and then expecting different results. And I wasn't showing up kind, and it was really affecting how I was showing up. And I wasn't the 10.0 version of myself. So then I had to flip the script and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to really test my faith. When I get tested in leadership, or when I get tested with my marriage, or these different areas of life where I don't want to show up, it's in those moments where I have to really dig deep and pray about it, meditate on it. And that is faith fueled by grit. And then when Sean leads by example, guess who watches that? All their friends, everybody around you. You're like, I want to mimic that, because it's caught, not taught. And that's what I'm hearing you say is, when we do these things for our community, the people that work for us, whether it's contractors, employees, or serving or impacting, it's how we show up in doing that. And I think that speaks volume for the people around us. Now, I wanted to tap in a little bit to construction and development. Really, what I have experienced from dealing with individuals like yourself, general contractors, and others within the Level Up Live Mastermind Group, it's just not an easy industry to be in.
No.
And whether it's cash flow, regulation, timeline, people is another big topic for any business owner. But I'm curious with you, man, what's been one of the toughest seasons for you, and how did you navigate it with your values, aligning with your values and what we're talking about intact?
So honestly, every period of where we have an extreme growth pattern becomes just this enormous struggle. I used to get asked that question a lot, and I would always say, man, the beginning, the startup was the hardest, trying to get everything together in one place and trying to figure out where our place in the industry is and how to acclimate geographically. We recently opened up our borders of operation to long distance travel. And, that was a big struggle. There's so many things that you don't think about logistically. You try to cover all your bases, but then you get out there and you're, a day away from home base and you forgot that one thing. And it just so happens to be something unique and expensive. And you got to try to figure out, well, do we get another one or do we ship it or do we drive back and get it? It's just so much to go through. But I would say the biggest struggle is entering into a pattern of growth and thinking that you need to rethink everything. I mean, yes, with every level of growth, there's going to be changes that need to be implemented to allow you to scale properly, but you can't throw out the things that brought you to that point. And if that makes sense, we get in these chaotic times in life and we want to rethink all of our life choices and we want to go back and we want to reevaluate how we're doing everything. And that's good to do, but just because something isn't as smooth as you think it could be doesn't mean that's the wrong way to go about it, because doing things that way is what brings us to the point of change, that boiling point or that polarization point of launching on to the next level.
Yeah, I love that. When I'm hearing you speak, and it really makes me think of the purpose, the vision. Because it's when I think of that, right? I think of Jeff Bezos, I think of Elon Musk, I think of some of these guys that are just really doing all these big things, and they face doubt, burnout, identity confusion. I mean, all these things, right? That the humans face as entrepreneurs and business owners. But what keeps them going? And success leaves clues in business. Now, I wouldn't say marriage and some of these other areas of life, but business, success leaves clues, and it's the vision. It's the North Star. It's the GPS. And when you reverse engineer that, then you're just working backwards and you're just putting one foot in front of the other and really aligning your priorities with your big rocks to your small rocks. And to me, it's like it's not if, but when you experience the doubt, the imposter syndrome, the frustration, and what you're talking about, because I've been down that road, is you have to go back to your why. Why am I doing this in the first place? Why did I start the business? Why am I spending all this time, energy, and effort working 70, 80, 90 hours a week? And if you don't have that, if there's not an emotion behind that of where you're wanting to go, then you're just going to experience, and you're going to be another statistic of shutting down. So what I have found working with business owners and entrepreneurs, and even myself, is you have to slow down. And that's for our listeners and audience listening to this, and ask yourself the deep, hard questions. Why? Where am I going? What's the current mission right now? What's the vision, the overall vision of the company? Because that's what's going to be the guiding principle along with your core values. And I think it's missed and very uncommon, especially with small businesses, because we get into it, self-employed, and we just roll up our sleeves for time freedom, financial freedom. But then we end up finding out, well, this is not all it's called out to be. And we actually just had on the podcast, Bryce Moore, implementer for EOS, which is the entrepreneur operating system. And he talks about that, breaks that down on the vision, mission, your 1 year, 3 year, 10-year goals. And you may not have all the answers with that, and you may evolve in the next 6 months, but at least it's something to strive for. And to your point on going through those tough seasons, because we all go through those tough seasons, it's revisiting that with like-minded individuals, business owners like me and you, at the coffee shop, on the phone, at a mastermind group. Because what I have found is when you try to do it in isolation, who are you going to talk to? Our wife, girlfriend, kids, they don't understand. But when you talk to somebody that does understand, it's within a matter of minutes. You're like, oh yeah, okay. Well, thanks for the empowerment. Thanks for the accountability. Thanks for the talk. Let me get back off, my soapbox and then go back up on my saddle on why I started this in the first place. So I just feel like that's an important aspect of what we're talking about here when we go through these tough seasons of life. So really appreciate you sharing that, Joshua.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, speaking of doubt, burnout, identity confusion, when that hits, I'm curious with you, man, and you can just be completely transparent here. What routines, disciplines, practices have really helped you stay grounded and aligned with your current mission and where you're headed at Sacred Innovations?
So for me, in those times, the exactly what you said, honestly, is I got to go back to the why. I got to go back to the foundation, go back to the beginning. I I play the movie through in my head and remember the story. And I take the feeling. I'm a very like kinesthetic kind of physical person. And so
Yeah.
I get quiet. I close my eyes. I start to remember, man, the last time I felt like this, what was going on. And I go back to that time mentally in my mind and just play it back through. And, when was the last time I thought it was all over? When was the last time I thought I couldn't do it? When was the last time I couldn't see a way through the obstacle? And what
Yes.
happened? What happened? And obviously we got through it because we're here today. And I see how it happened. And then I go even farther. And what about the time before that when it was impossible and there was no way? What happened? And every single time, the people came through, the customers came, I got the new lead or whatever it was. We figured it out and we got through, or we learned a new way that we've used every time since then. And so every single time it looked like it was impossible and there was never going to be a way to change it, it always turned out better than we could have imagined. And I just go back and remember all those times that, we brought our excellence, we prepared to the best of our ability, but at the end of the day, we let God do the rest and he never lets us down.
I got chills hearing you say that. Because I do something very similar, and I love that you shared that, and I can tell that you've been through that and rolled up your sleeves through that journey. And I would just encourage any listener listening to this, if you feel like you're at that place in life where you're grinding, you're scaling, and maybe you're losing that why, then go back and revisit that, like what Joshua just said. And that was actually my next question: is what one piece of advice would you give about aligning business with your purpose? So you hit the nail right on the head with that. Now, if somebody wants to learn more about what you're doing, Joshua, and really making an impact and serving at Sacred Innovations, or maybe even partner with you for all your work, what's the best way that they can connect with you, man, and hear more about you?
So we have our website, sacred-innovations.com. And then you can also find us on Facebook, Sacred Innovations. But man, if you're in one of the areas that we service, the best way would just be to give us a call and come get involved. We've got a lot going on. We recently partnered with Grace Community Development Corporation. And so we're out there trying to get homes for people that need them. We're trying to make a positive impact. We're trying to plant churches and build the actual structures, the brick and mortars, just kind of increase the quality of life and provide basic human essentials to those who don't have it. So I think if you really want to be a part of what we're doing, man, come on out here and serve alongside us and get involved.
Awesome, man. And we'll have those links in the show notes as well, so they can easily connect with you and reach out on the show notes. Mm-hmm. And Joshua, I just want to acknowledge you, man, for really sharing your journey, leaning into the podcast today. I know this has been your first experience and you've actually executed, really been vulnerable. So I just want to acknowledge you for being authentic, you being vulnerable, sharing your story, opening up today. I know it's going to impact hundreds and thousands of business owners and emerging leaders in the coming months. And just telling your story, man, for who you are, leaning in, being vulnerable, communication, reaching out, plugging yourself in. Because I sensed it from you when we initially talked, like it's easy to isolate yourself. It's easy to, nope, I'm busy. I got these things going on. But you have made it your mission to go, nope, I'm not doing that because I know that's the definition of insanity. I'm going to continue to plug myself in. And whatever it takes, I'm going to show up, lean in, get curious, ask questions. So I just want to commend you for that, man, and acknowledge that about you and being on this journey with you, Joshua. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Sean.
Absolutely. And to all of our listeners, pick one insight from Joshua's story today. Maybe it's how he turned a tough season in his story that he shared into a foundation of mission. Maybe it's revisiting your why, finding out and tying that emotional, compelling nature to it. And maybe it's how he leads with faith. We've talked a lot about faith-fueled grit today in his business. Whatever it is, whatever it takes, don't just listen to this. Go actually take and apply this in your own life. We'll also drop the show notes, like I said earlier, in the show notes so you can connect with Joshua and learn more about Sacred Innovations. If this episode inspired you, share it, leave a review, and subscribe. This is how we're growing organically. We don't do any paid advertising at this time. Keep bringing in more leaders doing this kind of impactful work. Until next time, stay on mission, live with purpose, and keep leveling up without losing yourself. Thanks again, Joshua.
Thank you.